Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreamcatcher podcast. I'm James Coma, and today I'm taking over the Dreamcatcher podcast for a very special episode. Today is the 300th episode of this podcast, and I'm very excited to be here. And my guest today, our guest today, is a very special man. In my opinion, he's a godsend. He's a, you know, one of one of the best people I've ever met. And, he's a podcaster, and you guys definitely know him. He's also a man of faith, and I believe he's also an entrepreneur. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But, guys, please welcome to the Dreamcatcher podcast, Mark Rudd Larsen. Hey, Mark, how does it feel to be in the guest seat for a change?
Well, James, thanks for having me on this episode of this podcast. And you were going to make me cry there when you did the intro. It feels really weird. It really is. It's just like I'm so used to doing it the other way. It's just like, no, you don't do that. But it's awesome, and everything you said about me, because you're the same, and you're an awesome man. And but no, it's weird. I've been thinking about this since you came up with the idea, and yeah, it is definitely bizarre, very much. I don't even know how to put it. It's strange, but it's cool.
So, did you ever do any like guest appearances on other podcasts before you started this?
Not too much. I mean, I did a few, and they were all right with being guests on podcasts, but I've done quite a few since I started the Dreamcatcher podcast, but I always wanted to take over their podcast. I was just like, no, you're not the person running this podcast, even on theirs. Um, but yeah, I've been honored to be on some other podcasts, and it's been great, especially once I really get into the being the guest vibe and
Yeah.
everything. But it's very cool.
Yeah, and it's actually the other way for me because, I'm an actor, and so I'm always used to people putting the focus on me. And then when I have to do an interview, I'm like, well, what do I ask, But, this is actually my
Uh-huh.
first interview as a host. So I'm definitely really grateful for
Awesome.
that and really grateful to you for, giving me the chance to, start doing it. But I want to talk a little bit about the podcast and what you're doing with the Dreamcatcher podcast. Um, I'm very curious as to what was the inspiration, like what got you to start this podcast. So take me back to the beginning. Did you just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I think I should start a podcast," or like what started it all?
I can tell you, I didn't wake up and think that ever. No, podcasting was never thought of anything that I thought I'd ever do. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said no way. Um, it just came from my wife Cheryl when she had her latest bout with cancer 10 years ago, and she only had like 14% chance of living. And cancer and the like definitely give you clarity. And we always wanted to travel, and we had never really done that. And it's just like, wow, that was a dream of ours that we may not be able to do. And it's like, so how many other people don't, catch their dreams or, go get what they really want to do in life? And Cheryl and I started doing mini trips in Nebraska and Kansas. We know those two states really well, but it's just it was sad because the more people I talked to, life got in the way. It was like it just it was it's like, oh, we don't have enough time, we're too young, we're too old, not there's always a reason. And then they would get to the end of their life, and it'd be too late, and it's just like, and pretty much everybody that I've asked on this podcast, I always ask
Mhm.
about what their dreams are, especially when they were growing up. And most of them remember them, but most of them aren't living those dreams. And I always say God gives you those dreams for a reason. And he also gives you the wherewithal to do it. Won't be easy to probably do those dreams, because he has you have to grow into the person that can keep and live that dream. And it's just like, and then at that
Yeah.
time, I actually had a coach in California, Crystal, and she's had a podcast forever. And she's like, one day she's like, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? It's like, no, I had definitely not. and she kind of helped me get started. And then the first year, I thought, yeah, this might be all right, but this kind of sucks, and I sound like I. But it was good, and then as it went on, it's just like I really like this. In fact, I look forward to this. I'm never working because this is awesome, and I was so
Right.
of the mindset I had to be perfect from day one, and you don't. And that's why my podcasts are very much not edited, very rarely at least. And you just go with it. Go get your dreams. And I want that. I want to show that to the world. And I wouldn't have met you if I hadn't done this podcast, because we'd have never probably we might not have crossed paths ever.
Right.
But yeah, I never thought about
Yes.
doing a podcast, and I have to thank people and God, and my wife Cheryl, for being very supportive, and and you, James, for being there to do this today. Uh, but no, in fact, I talked to a guy that's going to be an instructor, and he's going to be teaching entrepreneurial and stuff like this. And he picked my brain yesterday about everybody wants to be perfect from the beginning, and we both agreed it's not possible,
Yeah.
because you don't, that's not yet. So, so yeah, this is, yeah, I'm wandering all over the place here. Imagine me with that much talking, but no,
Well, this is about you,
podcasting
Mark.
thing is. What's that? Was that?
I said today is all about you, Mark. So
So,
I'm glad
no,
that you're taking a step back and
you know,
show yourself
that,
to the audience, because what I was saying, that I'm glad to see
yeah,
you taking a step back today and showing yourself to the audience, because what I see is that, when you're a host, people don't really get to see you as much as, the person that you're interviewing. But I do know for a fact that you have a lot to
true.
show to the world, and you've got, like, there's a light inside you that people need to see.
Yep.
So hopefully people will, watch this episode and see what I see in you. But you talked about,
Appreciate that.
you know, how God inspired you, and obviously you do believe that God has put you here for a reason, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so when, with what you did before, like, what were you doing before you started a podcast? And you talked about the breaking point being your
Yeah.
wife's cancer and all of that. But leading up to that, who were you, and how did you evolve through, basically all of your life? Since it's about dreams, when you think back when you were like 10 years old to where you're at now, do you think that your life makes sense and that you really lived up to that potential?
I think maybe now I do. I think my 10-year-old self would be proud of me, but up to this point, maybe not, because I was doing the traditional. I went and got the college degree. I went and did restaurant management all over the United States, Dallas, and all those, and did the chase the dollar, chase the money, and which I hated, and 100-hour weeks, and then I tried shoe store management. That shoe store management was the worst. Long hours and not much money.
Okay.
But then I came back because I grew up on a farm, and my dad farmed, and we had cattle and stuff, and he wanted to know if I wanted to come back and do that. Did that for a while with him. We are too much alike. It was not a good thing. It was good, but it wasn't. But
Right.
and that led me, because on the farm you got to fix a lot of things yourself. So I became a handyman. I did handyman for a lot of years, and that is kind of what led up to this, because I always did the small jobs, the ones the contractors didn't want, and it ended up being,
Mhm.
because I'm definitely in a rural area, uh, where people kind of knew me already. So I got really a lot of really small, awesome jobs. But then we, after at the end, which is very traditional in this area, we always had to have coffee or something before I left, and I would talk to them for a long time, and a lot of times they would pay me
Right.
for, it's just like, you don't need to do that. It's like, yes, we do. This is your time, and it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I did that for a lot of years, and I had never drank coffee really before that either. But I'm doing it right now. but yeah, it's just like, and so the people were very, very kind that were my my clients. I had 150 clients at one time, and they said, really, have you ever thought about like public speaking or anything like that? Which definitely not, because I was really, really shy as a kid. I didn't talk at all, and it's like, which public speaking doesn't terrify me anymore. It terrified me then, and I didn't see myself doing that.
Right.
But yeah, and that just kind of led to where these people, in fact, the people who were my clients are supporting me on this podcast. They've been so kind. They still want to know if I want to do some of their stuff. It's like that boat's gone, that ship sailed. But they're kind, and they kind of showed me that I came out of my shell, found my voice, with talking to those people so much. My classmates, when I meet them, they said, "What happened to you?" Because I didn't talk. I did not talk at all in school. And it's like, well, I found my voice and I found who I am. And I
Right.
think I know that this podcast is every day is making my 10-year-old self even more proud. So yeah, I'm awesome, and I want to show the world how to do that too. So a long
Yeah.
answer, longer.
And no, I mean, I love it. And I can relate to you on that. I was also very shy, and people will probably remember from the episode we did together when you interviewed me. But I also like listening to that story. I think that there's kind of a divine timing to that, where you had to go from being that shy kid to this, go through all the process of doing the, traditional path, eventually finding
Right.
those people and getting those clients. And now you could be where you are and,
Yes.
help them, with their business. And you talk to a lot of
Yep.
small business owners, which I think is really great, because in the world today, we have so many resources, and we
Yes.
have social media. We've got, YouTube. Like, literally the world is at our hands. But
Yes.
unfortunately, I think that most small business owners never become what they could become, because there's nobody. And when I talk about, business owners, it could also be like artists or musicians. They're just a small
Exactly.
town musician, and they stay there because nobody gives them a platform to go and,
Mhm.
show themselves to the world. But you're doing that, and I think that's really amazing. And I mean, I hope that people start tuning into this podcast even more, because there's really something to it. But talking about dreams, I would like to know, where do you see yourself in the following years? 5 to 10 years, and when are you gonna do a public speaking event? Because I know you will.
You're right. In 5 to 10 years, but my dreams are. Well, I think maybe you know this one. Doing these podcasts in person. I would love to be over there in Spain with you right now, doing this in person. Um, doing that. Doing maybe teaching classes. I mean, I've been asked a couple times maybe to teach podcasting classes, but just being inspirational, motivational, showing what's possible, showing the way, um, showing that you don't have to be perfect to start on whatever it is your dream is. Um, but yeah, just being an example. And then at my age, I could be retiring if I wanted to, but I would never do that, because I think that's when people start, they don't know what to do. For one thing, most people with the traditional, they put all their identity into that. And when they say they're going to retire, it's like, and then they don't know what to do. And it's like, why would I want to retire for something I love? Show people that
Right.
redefine your later years in life. Show them that you could start anything you want. Don't go and just sit there and watch TV or whatever it is. Do what you really want to do, but just kind of redefine the boundaries of what my age, even your age, what's possible. Where you don't have to go to college if you don't want.
Yeah.
You can be an entrepreneur, and you can do it. And but yeah, my dreams are Cheryl and I traveling to see James whenever we want to see, or maybe he'll. I know we're got a trip, maybe December coming up here, but yeah. So I'm looking
Oh,
forward to that. But I want to be a I want to have my own jet and pilot and be able to do, travel the world and talk to people in
Yeah.
person. Because this is great, but it's better in person anytime. And have a beverage of choice with you, just hang out with you, um, and just us being an example. Everybody, showing people the way. The dream is to show my knowledge and show the world, what's possible.
Yeah, I love that. And do you do any coaching or anything like that for, take on
You
one-on-one
know,
clients and help people kind of get started?
I actually I am got a coaching. In 2018, 2019 in San Diego, I got the certificate or whatever. I tried doing that, but most of the time people wouldn't show up. They majority of the people, I think they have the best of intentions, but when it comes to coming every week and doing the reps, they don't show up. And I kind of got tired of being stood up, basically, because
Yeah.
I love helping people, and there are people that will, but they're the minority. So I kind of got out of
Yeah.
doing that. I still, if I saw the right person, I would definitely in a second. But
Yeah.
online, it didn't work real well because most people, for one thing, they're kind of stuck in what and it's hard to get out of what you know. It's very hard,
Yeah.
and it's just like, well, this is probably easier, or I'm tired from working 3 jobs, and I really last thing I want to do is talk to Mark about coaching. You want to go to bed, or something like
Right.
that. And so, yeah, I could do coaching, but I just have chosen, in the last few years, not to do it. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And on that note, I think that that's probably the reason why most people don't go after their dreams and they don't achieve their dreams, is because they kind of settle into where they're at. And it's like, change is painful, but once you go through it, after that, this
mm,
after the pain comes the breakthrough, and I think that, personally, that's what I look forward to in life. And, I also try, I don't always, achieve that, but I try to trust God and just kind
yeah,
of believe that it's on His own terms, right? Like it's not my
I
timing,
agree.
it's His timing. But
It is.
but a lot of people, like, they don't show up, and they, they don't want to do the work, and it's like, what, why are you complaining then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. And I know even with when I had my coach over at the Y, work out, and and Caleb will probably watch this because Caleb is a very supportive of this podcast. But I always showed up, and I don't know if everybody shows up even when they are paying a coach. It's just, I mean, for your health, and it's just it's probably for the best, but it is really hard to do that. It just because for one thing, like with the working out, you're going to have aches and pains, and it's like I don't want to go through that. But that's more physical, but you're still going to have aches and pains no matter what you're going through. Whether you didn't get to do that dream because you didn't, you were consistent, and that's one thing. Discipline. I always growing up, everybody said discipline, and it's like, yeah, I thought, yeah, right. Discipline's a gift. It is definitely a gift to yourself because it gives you. It's like this becomes a non-negotiable, and it's just like when it becomes a
Mhm.
non-negotiable, you just know you're going to do it. And so many people give themselves
Yeah.
the option of not. And that was one thing when Cheryl and I got married. We had to go through before we got married with the church and stuff. And the guy who was really awesome, he said, the people that have divorce in their vocabulary are probably more than likely going to get divorced. He said, if divorce is not a thing that
Yeah.
ever is going to happen, it's non-negotiable, those people stay married. And it's like, interesting. Uh, but yeah, it's just it's whether which side of the pain you want to do. The pain of going through it or the pain of not having achieved it. So, and I hate to see that. I
Yeah.
hate people not living up to what they're capable of.
Yeah. And, I've kind of been going through the motions myself, over the last couple of months. Ever since we did the
Hmm.
podcast, it's kind of like my life got real messy and I was like kind of lost. And then I was like, I'm not lost. I'm just going through it right now. But there's something that's going to come
Yeah.
out of this. And I choose. It's a conscious choice to put
It is.
myself through that pain of change, through that you know pain of, well, maybe maybe I don't know where I'm gonna be like 3 or 6 months from now. Maybe I don't know if it's gonna work out or not. Maybe I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing or not. But the thing is, there's always that voice inside of you that kind of tells you whether you're doing the right thing or not. And when you wake up in the morning and you have this nudge, this feeling, maybe I should do that, and it persists over a couple days, weeks, then you have to do it.
It does.
But there's one thing
Yeah.
that I
There,
can tell you for sure. It scares the living shit out of me to look back when I'm 80, 90 years old and think, oh, wow, so I just stayed at that, crappy old job for what? Or I never did that thing. I wonder what could have happened if I did it. It's like, if you're going to do that, you might as well just kill yourself now. Like, it's pointless to do that. And I mean, don't kill yourself,
yeah.
by the way, but, you know,
Yeah. And some
but
people, I mean, they settle. Some people, that's another thing. They don't think they're capable. And everybody's capable. And they just, it's, you know, I guess maybe confidence or what it is, but you got to go through the pain. You just got to do it because one thing, you owe yourself. And I always say, if I wake up in the morning, God's still got a reason for me to be here. And I believe that is with everybody. He's got something he wants you to do. And James, he's got a lot for you to do. I know he does. So, but it, he
thank you.
does. And I'm just honored that he crossed our paths. But I see so many unhappy people, and that is one thing that breaks my heart more than anything else. Uh, so
Yeah. And so we talked a little bit about dreams and how important it is to go after those dreams, but let's talk about the mindset, because that's really the
okay,
key, you know, to
it
to
is.
achieving those dreams. And the people that you surround yourself with, the mindset that how you approach that, I think it's very important. But what's your take on that?
Mindset is at most. It is that I really didn't take it seriously. I'd heard the mindset, that woo woo over there, and
Yeah,
mindset is what you're going to accomplish. It's like I'm going to be a public speaker. At the mindset, I'm going to do that. And for one thing, when you have that mindset, you put the vibes out there. God, I believe, cross paths, with people that can do that for you and, get you up down there on stage. Um, but yeah, mindset, because you can have, I don't really want to say loser mindset, but a defeatist mindset, something like that, where
yeah,
you just like, well, that's for them, over there. And it's like, no, it's not. It's for you. And the fact you're thinking about it is trying to that thing that's right there. It's like you really should do that, but no, there's so many.
yeah,
For one thing, the mindset is kind of not is overrun with social media. I think so many people are so busy they don't even think about their
yeah,
mindset. Social media, your phones, whatever today's world. I mean, it's definitely good and bad, like anything. But there's so many people that forget their dreams, forget their mindset, they forget everything that they really want to do, and they kind of numb themselves with that. And if you have the mindset, because I could be on the phone all the time, but I have the mindset, it's like, no, that's not going to take over my life. Because and then having the mindset is I'm still gonna, and I would have problems not doing this, and you know it too, that not talking to people in public, I would have a lot of problems with that. But it's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. It comes back to non-negotiables again, um, and I harp on that. But it's just like, and I also believe having the mindset of putting it into the write it down, put it into the physical, put it into the 3D, and look at it. Look at it every day. Look at it on a whiteboard or whatever it is. It's like, yes, and have a date and time when that's going to be done, because otherwise it just keeps going on to the future and you never get it done. And yeah, and
yeah.
that's something I learned early
And
on in this, that you need to have. What's that?
I was gonna say it's like that quote from, I think it was the movie Night and Day with Tom Cruise, where he says, "Tomorrow is a dangerous word. No, someday is a dangerous
It
word because it's basically just for never." And
it
I was
is.
like,
It does
I
turn
heard
out.
that, and you know how
Someday
much I
never
love Tom
comes.
Cruise. I was like, God damn, that's
You
what it
do.
is, But I think it all comes back.
Yeah, and you're the next Tom
I
Cruise.
think it all comes back to. Well, I'm working on that, and you know it. Uh,
You are.
but
You'll do
I
it.
think it comes back to consist. Oh, I think there's a delay there. Um, whoops. Oh, there you
Yeah,
go. I
I
think there
still
was
got
like
you
a
here.
little
So
bit
we're
of a glitch. I was gonna say that. Okay, I was gonna ask you about what we were talking about. Consistency and the
yes.
non-negotiables. I think that a lot of people, it's not necessarily that they do it on a conscious level. They just get caught up in what
They do.
what they're doing. Like they don't think about what they're thinking. They don't think about how much time they're spending on their phones. And for me, for
Yep.
example, I look at social media as a tool, and I use it to
Yep.
connect, to share, to promote. That's it. Like I don't want to be consuming stuff all the time because that stays here. And, what you consume eventually becomes your mindset. So, I'd rather
It does.
spend, time on YouTube watching a TED talk or a Mind Valley talk or something like that than half an hour scrolling on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think that discipline is really important. And I mean, of course, you have the discipline, you show up every day. But I think I would like to ask you about, like, if somebody right now is listening to us, and they're
Hmm.
feeling like, okay, yeah, I want to have the discipline, I really want to do it, but there's this and there's
Right.
that, and they kind of try to make excuses for that. Again, not on a conscious level, and not trying to put blame on anybody. Like,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
piece of advice would you give to them for somebody who's feeling kind of caught up in the situation? How do they break the pattern?
It's not easy because it's your normal. It makes it very tough to break out of your normal. Sometimes life has a way of really, like Cheryl's cancer, what it took for us to get out of our
Yeah,
normal. Yeah, hopefully, you don't doesn't take that much, but you just have to make a conscious effort. Do stuff like you were saying, YouTube and watching, other things that TED Talks that help you grow rather than the mindless stuff. Which yeah, it's fun to watch for a while, but it becomes an addiction basically. And like any addiction, it can be tough to break. But you just have to get a coach, get somebody that's like doing what you want to do, and reach out to them. Because I find people in general are really awesome, especially if they see somebody that wants to move forward.
yeah,
But you just put the phone down, put it away. Don't have it there for a while. Go out and take a walk. Go do something that you
yeah,
haven't done. And just it's like then you look back, it's like wow, I really was addicted to the phone or whatever it was, and it's not easy, but you grow so much when you take that first step. But just reach out.
yeah.
And YouTube, I mean, you can find anything on YouTube, but TED Talks are awesome. I could be addicted to TED Talks because there are so many amazing people on there.
So
And
just watching social media.
yeah, so Cheryl was asking me the other day because at one time I said I wanted to do a TED Talk. She's like, "So where's that goal at?" Cheryl holds me accountable. My wife definitely does keep hold me
That's
accountable, which is also have a business buddy or business partner or somebody or good friend that holds you accountable. Somebody that just like, no, James, you're not going to do that today. And I don't think you probably. I know you have the discipline, but we all fall back into that because it's so easy to do, and that's what they have it designed. But you just put the phone down. I just and I hate it when I see these parents putting phones in these little kids' hands. Sometimes they're still the babies, and it's like, oh, you're causing
oh yeah,
so much problems with that. Yeah, and it's just, but reach out. That's one thing nice about social media. You can reach out to people all around the world, and just and you might find some jerks, but I would guess 99% of the people will be really wanting to be helpful. And yeah, it'll be intimidating probably to
Yeah.
reach out because they'll probably say, "Oh, what are these guys doing?" And it's like, and most people I don't find that, most people are like, "Oh yeah, let's talk," and then I end up talking to them an hour or two, and James is like, "I can't imagine
Yeah.
that." So, but but
It's
it's
the
just
same.
happen.
I
Are you
much.
okay?
But I was gonna
No,
say something. Um, so yeah, like a lot of people, again, they get caught up. But I think that what it comes
they do.
down to is just building a new norm. And I'm gonna make it a little bit about
Yep.
me here, but I remember there was like a breaking point for me, and I think I talked about that on the podcast that we did, the last episode we did. But there was a
Uh,
breaking point for me where I was like, I don't want to be like this anymore, And I have discipline now to show up every day when I want to give up, and I have discipline to, it's not easy because you want to go on social media and check out what that guy is doing and what the other's doing, and try to compare yourself and fall into the trap of what 99% of the world is doing. But when you build that new normal inside of you and you build that new identity, again, it's just like one small change, one small step that you take every day, right? Like, oh, I want to go on
yes.
Facebook. Well, you know what? On second thought, I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to find an audiobook, or I'm going to listen to a meditation, a 10-minute talk, whatever it is.
Right.
That small change is like the seed, And then the seed
It
grows
is.
into a sprout. And then it's like the next time you want to reach for that Facebook or that Instagram, you go like, hey, you know what? I actually, there was this other video that I wanted to watch. And slowly but surely, you
Yep.
start to build that new normal. And I think that's really important. If you want to follow your
Me too.
dreams, you got to understand that it might take time, but it starts today and it starts with you. And one small change, again, it's like I was listening to an audiobook that I found on YouTube. And I think you're going to find it
Okay.
very interesting. I'm actually going to share it with you after this. And maybe we
Okay.
can share it with the audience too. But it was talking about the seeds, how life and who we are is kind of like a seed, like you plant the seed, but the moment you plant the seed, it's not the same moment when you see the tree and you reap the fruit, right? So
Right.
you have to learn to be in the darkness and be in the stillness and do the work while other people can't see the sprout yet. And when you're sprouting, to
Yeah.
keep growing in that space and keep, showing up every day. And I think that's really the mindset. It's to understand
Agreed.
that just because something didn't work out, it's not necessarily failure. Or, just because you can't see your own sprout, you can see your own tree or the tree that you're becoming, doesn't mean that you're not there. You're just rooting yourself. And
Yep.
I don't know, I really love that, and I think it really
Me too.
goes well with what you're teaching. But
And it does. And I like
you
that.
obviously, I
I
mean,
like that analogy.
and I
So,
mean, well, you were a handyman and a farmer, so definitely you have to like that.
uh,
Um,
yeah. No. No.
but
That is. You have to be in the dark to light.
so what,
So, yep.
thinking about like a lot of people, I think, get discouraged because of failure or what they perceive to be failure. I've learned to change that perspective into it's not failure, I'm just rooting myself. And I personally think
Hmm.
that I've learned more from the times that I failed than from the times that I've succeeded. But what do you think about that? Because I mean, of course, everybody goes through failure in life. What do you think about that, and how do you see failure?
I see failure if it doesn't stop you, it's good. Fail forward. Because so many people, it's like, I failed, I'm done. It's like only if you stop, what you learned all that stuff that didn't work. Now that didn't work. Try something different. Just keep failing until you're successful. It may take quite a few tries. It might be the next try. But we have such a stigma about failing. The business failed, or and it's just like it's not. Like I always tell Cheryl, it's like more than likely. I mean, it's not going to kill you. You may feel like it's going to, but it's just like you just it can be embarrassing. It can be so many things, but just move on. Don't dwell on it. That's for sure. But fail forward. Just like, this is where I'm going forward because I got that failure out of the way. And you will
Right.
have more. We all have failures. It's how we learn. Like somebody said, it's a good thing we didn't have that mentality when we were learning how to walk. When you'd fall down and then you get back up again. And at that stage in our
Yeah.
life, it's just like we don't see failure. It's just like we're learning. You're at that point, you're learning how to walk.
Yeah.
And it's too bad we don't put more of that mindset in our later years when we're adults and stuff, and get rid of the stigma of failing. It just that doesn't help
Yeah.
anybody.
Right. And that's what I was gonna say. When you were talking about like when you're a kid and you're just a toddler and you're learning how to walk, nobody blames you. You don't blame yourself. You don't go there thinking, "Oh my God, I fell and I hurt my butt." It's like no, you're just learning.
Yeah,
You're doing your best, doing your best
exactly.
every day. Eventually, you just
Yep.
walk up straight, and you become this you know adult. Trying to make it in life, but I think we should really go back to that and stop,
Agreed.
blaming ourselves and not put so much pressure on ourselves. And, I know that you said, about when you're setting goals and all that stuff, to put a timeline or, give yourself a deadline for when you want that to be achieved. And for me, it's actually the other way around. I'm like, I'm not going to set a
Cool.
deadline. I know I'm not going to wait until it happens, but I'm just going to take a
Okay.
little step every day until it happens. And when you do that, I think, maybe steps, but steps. And I think, you know,
Yeah.
taking a little step, just doing one small action every day, it's so much better than doing a lot today and nothing for an entire week. Like again, that
Very, very true.
consistency and
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Because me is
So,
very important.
is there anything else that? Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything that I'm missing here, or something that you want to talk about, or any advice that
I
you might have. Uh,
just write down your dreams. Have a brain, just put stuff down on paper, and then maybe walk away and come back and see what the next day it looks like. But because days change, what you want to do or what you feel, is different. But something, if there's a theme that keeps coming up, it's like maybe you should be doing that or start to do that.
yeah.
But just do your dream. You don't want to just go to work, 9 to 5, and a lot of times it's a lot longer than that anymore, and work for the weekends, which really, oh, I work for every day,
Yeah.
and not work. I want to, like I, Sharon, I put, it was that Sunday. We celebrate every day, especially since she beat cancer, 10 years ago, and everybody's like, wow, that's kind of weird to them. But celebrate every day. There's always something. I mean, there's even the worst days. There's something to celebrate. You're here, and if you have your health or whatever it is, there's something to celebrate. You have food. You have coffee. So, but it's just, yeah, coffee's a good thing. But it's just, don't let life get you down, and because it can really get you down. And just
Yeah.
just put up, and I don't know, people say vision boards can work for some people. I it doesn't work for me, but that depends on the type of person and how they see things. But don't let another day go by without starting to do something. And like you say, consistency, doing something towards that dream that's moving you forward. Because it's too easy I mean, look at, we're going to be done with 2025 before we know it. I can't believe how far we're already going through this year. And it's just another year and another year. And I can tell you, it goes, the older you get, the faster it goes. As a kid, it doesn't seem like it goes that fast, but
Yeah.
boy, an adult, it goes really fast. And you don't want to have lived your life and look back.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I wish I'd have done that. And it's like, then I hate
Yeah.
that because you didn't do it. And all the people that would have been inspired or had positive ripple from you because you did do your dream. And I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of ripple. I mean, I want positivity to go out to the world,
Oh
and
yeah.
we need a
Me
lot of
too.
that. And it's
Yeah.
just do it, just do it. I can say it with Nike, just do it. But it's just, there's a lot of wisdom there. Just do it. Do it afraid. Do it. You're
Yeah.
not going to be perfect. and don't care. Like learning how to walk,
Right.
it's how you learn. I can tell you, I have on this podcast. You look back to the first year, I sucked, and but you just keep going, and just it becomes a non-negotiable, and that's why Mondays and Fridays
Right.
I always have an episode drop, and I'm still learning. Um, it's just do it. You owe the world and yourself, that person, your best self, to the world, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think you do. You really do owe, especially to yourself. I want everybody to have their best life, and I see so many people struggling.
Yeah.
Saw yesterday a guy that was
And I
homeless, and
think that a
I
lot of
hate to.
people, I think that a lot of people don't realize that. They don't realize that the world wants to see them shine. The world wants to see you. And I had a
Yep, yep.
problem, not a problem, but I struggled to really understand that. I was like, why does the world want to root for me? I'm just an average guy, trying to be an actor, trying to do this, trying to do that. And then I started to
Mm-hmm,
put
mm-hmm.
myself out there. I'm like, I am that person. I can't run away from who I am, and it's like,
Nope.
you know, I started to realize that indeed there's a lot of people that want to root for me. And I want to root for
Yeah,
people when
yeah.
somebody tells me a dream, like there's a hairdresser that I always go to. And
Okay.
to me, she's the best. But she's the best
Uh huh.
because she's got dreams, and she always talks about the dreams that she has and what she wants to do to the place and the next big thing that she's gonna do. And I'm like, I always leave her a tip because I want to support that and I want to root for her. And I always tell
Yes.
everybody about her because I'm like, she deserves. I want to root for her. So people need to realize there's other people out there that want to root for you. The problem is, in my
Exactly.
opinion, for most of us, I mean, I don't know if that's your case, but for me, for example, I grew up in a place where everybody was very discouraging, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
around me, it was like this person had a toxic relationship, the other one was struggling with depression. My parents weren't really supportive, and I you already know that
Mm-hmm.
my mother was very abusive and very violent. So when I kind of became an adult and I was really on my own, I was like, I don't know, am I really
Mm-hmm.
worth it? Like, what would I be worth of that? It's like, and then I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, if I could just tell that Anne that, hey, you actually don't have to do this. Or, that
Yep.
cousin that I had that had the dream. And it's like, just trust me, get out of your comfort zone. Just go out
Yes.
and go to a city or whatever. Get out of those
Yeah.
four walls that surround you. Call in sick to
Yeah.
work. Trust me, call in sick to work and drive away. Drive away to the biggest city
Yeah.
that's near you and just walk around there. Trust me, you're not going to be the same man that
Yep.
comes after that. You know what I mean?
You won't. Definitely know what you mean. Yeah, and just do that. Get out of your comfort zone. Go travel. I can't wait till where I'm at, where you get to visit where you're at in Spain there. But no, like a couple years ago when we went to Italy, it does
Yeah,
change you. You never go back to the person you were before you did all that. And I see you were out in nature the other day too, and I thought,
yeah,
go James, you were out here, and but I'm outside a lot just because we're in a rural area, but it does change you. I think there's, and that's one thing I always, silence kind of has answers. Silence, talks to you. People are like, what? And it's like, well, I guess if I don't know how to explain it, but it does. I get some of my best inspirations. It's like, oh wow, that's cool. I never thought about doing that. But and that's one thing with the AirPods and everything. People are always with headphones on. They don't have any silence. In their life, and I I have AirPods, I have all that stuff, but it's just like you got to have time where you're doing what you just getting out there and just uh, because that's where I get a lot of direction for the podcast too. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
so we're there to spread the word on that.
And yeah, that's the reason why I went out the other day, but was because I was so confused. I was like, what the heck am I doing with my life? And then I just, I was feeling a little bit run down, because the heat, man, the heat really screws me up. But it was, kind
Me
of a
too.
cool day. We had some rain. I'm like, today's the day. So I couldn't sleep. It was like 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, I'm just going out, and I was there. I was pretty much
Awesome.
the first person there. Kind of lonely place. And it was like all of a sudden it was just me and nature, and I was just there, And I think that when you're able to do that and just be there and listen, definitely just don't be afraid of the silence. I think that people are not necessarily afraid of the silence. They're afraid of what the silence might tell them, because that's your intuition. That's,
It is.
that inner voice telling you,
Yeah.
don't go to work tomorrow. Instead, talk to that client. It's
Yeah.
scary because it's like, oh, well, what I need, you know? Yeah, but that's your intuition, Don't be afraid
It
of
is.
that, you know?
No, intuition's there to help you. And yeah, and I have that intuition too. It's like, yeah, you should be really talking to more people about, future podcasts or something like that. Or I should be working on this podcast, or I should be going for a walk. I haven't gone for my walk, today, and I need to get out there and yeah, intuition. I love intuition. No, and I think it gets stronger
Oh,
the more
yes.
you use it too. So no,
Yeah, it's like a muscle.
it is exactly
But
very, very much.
I think that it's also about like surrendering. Again, just going back to the
It
present,
is.
and from the present, you just anchor yourself and grow from there.
Yep.
Again, like a seed, you anchor yourself, you plant your roots, and then you grow from there. Um,
You do.
so, let's just finish this. I would like to have you, if you have any, again, not just any advice, but like some encouragement for somebody who might be either struggling or even thriving, but just what would you tell to the world right now?
Don't ever give up. And there's days you want to give up. Oh, there are days you want to give up, but just don't. And if you're really
Mhm.
negative or down, or life really is beating you down, seek somebody out. I always say that with like suicide too. Don't don't do that, because the world is waiting for you, and you have so much to offer. And if you're not here anymore, you're not able to do that. But just don't give up. It may look negative at the time, right at the present time, but I guarantee you that there's more positive times coming in your life, especially if you take the action. Take action, definitely too, because the best of intentions, if you don't take action, you're not going to get anywhere. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and
Right.
just don't give up. You have the ability. You have the ability to do whatever life you want, and catch your dreams. So just don't give up. Take action. Just go and do it, and you will look back and be so happy that you did. So that's I want to tell everybody that.
And talk to Mark. Reach out to Mark.
I'll give a lot of coffee and we'll just keep doing a lot of talking. So, no, that sounds awesome.
So, one last question, Mark. Are you like open
Yep.
to for anybody that might be, wanting to do what we're doing and be on your podcast or be a guest, maybe put themselves out there? So let's say somebody wants to, do a podcast, or again, maybe they have a business that they're trying to
Okay.
start up. Um, do you have anywhere they can reach out to you, or are you even looking for guests at the moment?
Oh yeah, they can reach me by my email address. I don't give my phone number out to anybody because I had to change it because it gets overwhelmed. Just with most people
Right.
not want that I want to talk to. So businesses texting me continually, but no, if they want to, or even leave a comment on the podcast episode, go to Dreamcatcher hyphen the podcast explanation point on YouTube, or I'm on Facebook. You can find me. I'm up to about 46,000 followers now. Whatever I did there is really taken off. So if they want to reach me there, I'm on Instagram, just about every social media. Or if they want to, I can my email address. If they want to do that, I can put that. It's ADAY 6062 at gmail.com. And I'd be happy to, get somebody. I tell people locally that if they want to start a podcast, I would be more than happy to do that. because I think everybody should have a podcast, really, because I think it's a great way to get your voice out to the world, and it's got a low entry point, very low entry point for the equipment, the program like this we're using, and you can, and don't think it has to be perfect. Do one on your phone, and just get started. Just get started. But yeah, just get started and just do your own podcast. And if you're not knowing what to do, I'd be happy to have a conversation. I do short chats all the time, so Messenger's a good thing for me. I use Messenger a lot for doing short chats. So, and they can reach me there too, through Facebook. So Mark Larsen. So and there's only like 300 of us in the United States. So you'll eventually get the right one, the one that doesn't have much hair. But yeah, if they want to do it, I'm happy for them to reach out. So what's that?
I was gonna say, I mean, if they're watching the video, they probably will recognize you. So
yeah, no, I have to have a cap on. I don't want to blind them with my bald head here. So almost bald. So there's plenty.
so that really blew me away, man. But caps look good on you. So well, Mark, thank you so much for letting me take over today. As always, it was really, really great talking to you. And if you're listening to this and you like this guy, definitely follow him. Follow the podcast and reach out to him if you want to, put yourself out there. Definitely reach out because he's the man. Mark, thank you so much. And here's to another 300 episodes.
Yes. Here's to another 300. So I'll look for you on the 600th, so we can do another one together, or before that.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you before. So
Definitely.
so that sounds good. So well, James, I appreciate you taking over for the 300th episode, and on that, everybody take care, and everything's possible. So